For all his sons and his daughters won't fill the cities with faces. Iniquities of they father, bloodthirstiest of our nation. Not for living water, waiting to put that work in. Hamashiach give us that order, prepare slaughter. For all his sons and his daughters won't fill the cities with faces. Iniquities of they father, bloodthirstiest of our nation. Not for living water, waiting to put this work in. Hamashiach give us that order.
Ago, and we see it coming to pass after a period of time, then that for us is what validates who the Bible say God is.
But how do you validate the prophecy to begin with?
I mean, you have to take it as what they say, like us. I keep using an example, a scientific experiment. We take the prophecy as a hypothesis, and then we go and see its fulfillment.
But if we keep going.
So if the prophecy doesn't come to pass, then we can recognize how invalid the God that allegedly gave it is, right? So that's fine. Give me Deuteronomy 28. I'm gonna show you something.
Wait, which one?
Deuteronomy, the book of Deuteronomy. We're gonna start at the 28th chapter. This is one of the major prophecies that we stand on, but that the Bible stands on as well. It literally creates the entire direction and the trajectory of the Bible. Right. The prophecy of Deuteronomy 28. Go ahead.
What's it say?
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 1. It says, "And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth."
So the start of the prophecy is,
and they will hate you or something like that. Is that the same one?
Which one?
Does that end like saying like, and you'll be hated by them or something like that?
No, you're talking about when Christ. You're talking about when Christ says that, you know, the world is going to hate you because it hated him. You know, no, that's not this one. But the prophecy of this chapter starts off by saying, if the Israelites, God's chosen people, who we are saying the Mexicans are a part of, if they obey the laws, statutes, and commandments of God, then they will be set on high above all nations of the earth.
But what premise makes them a part of that?
I mean, we're building the premise right now.
Oh, okay.
Right? So that's the start of it.
Yeah.
The idea and the concept of, if the Israelites, who we're saying the Mexican people are a part of, if they obey God, then they will have a superior position socially.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this is be set on high above all nations of the earth. Okay? I'm gonna show you something. So
But why would they want to be set on high on earth if you have heaven that's like eternal?
That's Christianity. I thought you didn't believe in the Bible. I mean, I thought you didn't believe in the Bible.
No, I don't. But
So that's Christianity. The Bible doesn't say that.
okay.
Right? The eternal kingdom of heaven is when the Israelites are set on high in their own kingdom. Okay? A kingdom is just talking about an empire or an empire or a nation of rulership where they're in their superiority and in their pinnacle. Okay? That's what a kingdom is. What Christianity has done is, because on the minority, on the indigenous people, that those who gave us that guy here with the horns, right? It's not Jesus. Nowhere in the Bible or in any type of history supports that this was Jesus of his contemporaries, right?
Yeah, they say he's either black or Asian looking.
Definitely not Asian. They say Asiatic.
Arabic, yeah.
They say Asiatic, but they say black people have an Asiatic phenotype of look, right? We have a almond eyes, right? Or even chinky sometimes, right? So we're Asiatic as well, but that's a totally different conversation. My point is, the people that gave us that creates this concept deriving from Greek mythology, right? That there's a place called hell, which is the underworld, Hades, and then there's this place or this world above that is heaven. But what they're doing is they are literally taking the concept of heaven as it speaks biblically completely out of context. The Bible speaks of like 4 different heavens. It speaks about the sky under the firmament. It speaks about the sky above the firmament, right? So it's almost like the atmosphere or below the atmosphere, above the atmosphere as heaven. Then we're talking about the 4th dimension, the spirit realm, heaven, where spirits, angels, who we say the Most High God is, right? Who you can acknowledge exists, might not be the one of the Bible, but it's in the spirit realm. It's something outside of us, right? That has motive, purpose, and intelligence, right? That's why you say, I could believe in God, but is it the God in this Bible? I don't know about that. But there's something outside of us with intelligence and motive that created all of this functionality, right? So they gave us that, and then they told us that in this world, the only way we can get to this heavenly, eternal, peaceful state is when we die, and then we got to go to that heaven. Why? Because they were stealing our land and oppressing us and subjecting us to slavery and slave conditions and labor. So why would I ever tell the people that I'm trying to subjugate that they can achieve this heavenly state and to be above me in their lifetime? No, that creates an idea for insurrection and rebellion. So they created this doctrine,
Like Jesus.
because we would never go against our God or our Lord if he looks like the people that's oppressing us. See, these are all the issues that was going to happen as a result of the prophecy. So we read the first prophecy to say
Who gave us the prophecy?
it came through Moses from God, right? Now again, how do we validate the initial prophecy? It's a hypothesis. We gotta entertain it in order. It's like you gotta, in order to win, you gotta play, right? In order to check its validity, you gotta challenge it. You gotta set it as a standard, as a floor, and then see if you can build upon it. If it's weak, it'll fall apart. If it's strong, then you'll start to not only see its fulfillment, but you'll start to see that nobody can combat it either.
But, so you say if it's weak, you can tell, and if it's strong, you can tell.
You can tell.
Because if it comes true or not, right?
It'll come to pass, but even then, when people are trying to refute it,
So then...
because even when we talk about the fulfillment of it, people will say, no, that's not true. And they will say, okay, well, show us where there's a disconnect in what is being said versus what is being seen.
Right, but if we are only looking at if it becomes true or not, do you also look at if it becomes true like the next day, or like, because I feel like if we let time
If
go
you-
on,
if you let time go on
everything might happen. You know?
That's
Like,
not true though. That's
I mean,
that's a
that is-
hypothetical,
Yeah.
but there are so many prophecies that people give that do not come true, and that have not come true, right?
Well, yeah, we can't say they do not come true. They just haven't.
They have not,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Nor do we even see any direction where it does.
Yeah.
But if people want to leave that open, cool. I have to give them the same respect that I give what I stand on. The difference between me and them is that I can show you what mine has come, what I stand on has come to pass. So there's a validity there. You see what I'm saying? Not to mention, it has been also very consistent over or throughout history, right?
I like consistency in religion.
We don't call this a religion because Christianity is a religion.
Yeah.
Remember, you came up as
System? What do you guys?
a culture,
Culture?
right? Because culture is is most of the time associated with your ethnicity or your nationality. Your ethnicity is literally dealing with your culture and your practices, right? So the culture that we practice is the commandments that we were supposed to keep in order to achieve superiority. You following? So when we read verse 1 of the book of Deuteronomy 28th chapter, it says, if you listen and you follow the culture, you'll be superior. It is a system. Do you play any sports or you watch sports? Right? When you have a good offensive system, it works. And you see championships as a result of that, which lets you know that you are the superior team at the end of the season. And then you try to repeat that.
But does wealth mean superiority?
It's a part of it's a component of superiority, yes.
What if I was,
Not the end all be all.
What if I was like a bona fide member of your?
You don't have to.
What if I was like a bona
Slide
fide
back.
member of your culture, right? Like me and you, same exact roots, same person, but my like feeling and want of like fulfillment wasn't to be wealthy or superior. Would I still be motivated to be in the same culture as you and have the same like maybe good morals or ideals?
Your culture wouldn't be based off of your desire. It's based off of what you're born into. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a lineal thing, right? It's actually a
Right.
patrilineal thing.
So you can't, you have no say
Would
over
you
your culture?
would you say that you're a so-called Mexican?
No. No, I'm American.
Is it what's your ethnic background?
I honestly don't know. I was adopted.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
But I would assume I'm brown, so I'd assume I'm Latino for sure.
just based off of assumption.
Yeah. I've never done 23andMe or anything.
I wouldn't even say that I wouldn't even say that validates what you are. The reason I asked the question is because you came up and you overheard Mexicans or Israelites, and
Yeah,
then that's
I
what
just
caught
wanted
your.
to know.
No, I'm just saying that's what caught your
Yeah.
attention. So I'm thinking that maybe he's Mexican to say, well, if I'm Mexican, I never heard somebody say that I'm an Israelite. So that's where the nature of
no,
your
no.
question was. But if it's not, then that's fine.
No, I'm totally
But
just curious.
but-
I'm a law student. I just like hearing.
No problem. I got you.
Yes.
Somebody that is Chinese, can they turn around and say, well, I don't like the Chinese way. They have a dictator. I don't like it. I'm not Chinese no more. Can they just not be Chinese? So it's an ethnic thing, right? It's a patrilineal.
Ethnicity. Yeah.
Cannot change it. So whether or not you agree with the ethnicity or not has nothing to do with whether or not you are going to be a part of it. Whether or not you're going to follow the culture, that's up to you.
Isn't everyone's subjective culture different? Like your culture and your culture have to be different because you woke up somewhere else today than he did.
No,
You brush
your culture
teeth
is your
with a
practice.
different Toothbrush.
Your culture is your practice. It's your principles that you stand on and you follow. So the fact that we're all up here together is a declaration that our culture and practices are the same. So no, just because he used Colgate and I use Sensodyne
Yeah.
doesn't mean we have a different culture. It just means that
It's
using
something else.
it just means that those two brands does not conflict with what we stand on.
Right.
Now watch this.
Right, you can differ in something like that because that doesn't have to do with like moral turpitude.
my foundation, my principle.
Yeah.
But something like I believe it's Crest, either Crest or Colgate. I know one of them are made by pork byproducts. So me and him know we would never. That's Colgate.
I gotta check.
It's one of them, right? One of the major toothpaste brands use pork byproducts. Our principles is that we live pork free. So both of us would never use that because of our culture that we have in common, right? So saying that.
Wait,
Deut-
so
Go ahead.
So then, backing up, is your culture the same as Mexican culture then? Is what you?
No. What I'm saying is that the culture of Mexicans today and even the culture of Mexicans prior to colonization
Yeah.
was deviating from the culture of the Israelites, and this is what we was going to get into. I'm glad you actually
Yeah.
brought that up, right? Because we see how Mexicans are disenfranchised, we see how African Americans are disenfranchised, we see how Native Indians are disenfranchised, how they're oppressed, how they're subjugated to be the bottom of society,
Yeah.
even though they are literally the most important, especially when it comes to the infrastructure and the inception of this great country that we live in, right? So when you read from verse 1 to 14, you see all of the blessings that were supposed to happen to the Israelites because of their obedience and because of the active practice of their culture. Read verse 15. I'm going to show you something.
Book of Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 15 says, but it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God,
So now we're getting into if they don't listen, right? Go ahead.
to observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So when you ask, so are you saying that your culture is the same as the Mexicans? We're saying no, but that's the problem, right? The repercussions that come upon the Mexicans for not following the culture is very distinct.
And it's distinct, but are you saying it's like a similar like punishment as like black people had at the beginning?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely,
I'm tracking
right?
now.
So
Okay.
this is where we start to draw the connection.
Yeah,
When we go
yeah.
through a process of elimination, now we're going from 15 all the way to 68. In verse 15, all the way down to 68, that gives a list of curses. So now all we do is we do a process of elimination. We say, well, who is this affecting in the world, right? Especially when we start getting into the bulk of them. Who and what ethnic people or what nationality is actually suffering the things that the curses say they would suffer for disobeying these cultural practices and laws?
Disenfranchisement,
One of the curses, absolutely. Absolutely. Jump to verse 54. I'm gonna show you something.
Verse 54.
Matter of fact, excuse me, 44. We're gonna read 45 to 46, and then we're gonna read 54, because I'm gonna show you the distinct repercussion, the distinct consequences or the results for not following these practices. Go ahead.
Verse 45, it says, moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee,
And going to pursue thee. Go ahead.
and overtake thee,
Read.
till thou be destroyed.
Read.
Because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded thee. It says, and they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder.
Read.
And upon thy seed.
For what?
Forever.
It's going to be a perpetual pursuant of these curses upon these people and their children for disobeying the laws of God, right? And it says it's going to be upon them for a sign and a wonder. That word sign in the Hebrew literally means a distinct marker, right? Jump to verse 54.
Verse 54, it says, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eyes shall be evil toward his brother.
So this is when we start getting into black on black crime, Hispanic on Hispanic crime, Native Indian on Native Indian crime. Is there such thing as a white on white crime?
There is, but
Absolutely. But does
all crime pretty much.
all crime, because you're a lawyer, so you understand the demographics of where crime is committed, right? All crime is usually done amongst their own people. But does white on white crime affect white people like black on black crime affects blacks?
Not at the same percentage.
No. I'm talking about the effect of it. We're not talking about the percentage.
I mean, it's a victim either way. I don't see how it matters.
Come on, you're a lawyer, right? What type of lawyer are you?
Criminal. I do criminal. I'm not a lawyer. I'm a law student. But
Okay, student.
I'm a certified student attorney.
And then what are you going to go and pursue to do?
Criminal law.
To defense or prosecutor?
Defense.
Okay,
Not a snitch.
so here, shouts out to you, right? Now here's the thing, you gotta learn to listen, okay? We're not saying who's the victim, we're saying who does it affect more, right?
So you're saying, does white on white violence affect white people the same way that black on black violence affects black people?
Correct.
Are you talking as a culture, I guess, or are you asking as
Let's be real, what was your name again?
Gabe?
Gabe, let's be real, Gabe. Black on black crime destroys black communities. White on white crime might destroy the family. Maybe.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm talking about it instills, and you don't see gang banging destroying white communities like you're seeing it destroy blacks. You don't see it destroying white communities like it destroys Hispanic and Native Indian communities. I mean, it literally becomes a hazard for black families to grow up in these predominantly black neighborhoods because it's poisoning the minds of our people. It's just not happening that way. That's the distinction. It's a sign upon them. Not to say it was going to not happen to anybody else, but when it happens to these people, because they are God's chosen people, God is saying, this is going to be a curse upon you that is going to pursue you to destroy you and your children forever.
That's a symptom of their disobedience.
Absolutely, right? And that's not just that. Let's keep reading.
Wait.
Go ahead.
So can we say that the non-symptom of white people not having that sort of effect, it means they're following God's?
No. But here's my thing. We're talking about the results because we can clearly see that white people don't keep the commandments of God, right?
Yeah, so why aren't they having the same issues?
Because they're not the children of God. They're not the Israelites. There we go. Listen, you just answered the question. We can see so many people in the world disobeying God's commandments, but we're only seeing the effects that is demonstrated in the curses happening to a specific people, not everyone.
So you're here to get your kingdom and be a good person. How can a white person achieve that then if they're not chosen? Are they just screwed because of how it?
They're not screwed. It's just that this is their kingdom. You guys are already experiencing.
So
I'm not you, because you already said that you're adopted.
I'm listening to
White
what you're
people
saying,
have their kingdom now.
Yeah.
So have a lot of other people and nationalities have had their kingdoms in times past. But the way that the God of this world is set up is so that his chosen people can be set in that superior position to then be the influence. How do white people run their country? Through the influence of black, Hispanic, and Native Indians. That's how they monopolize everything and make all of this money. But what blacks, Hispanic, and Native Indians are influencing the world to do is not to follow God, but to sag their pants, wear fitted hats, cock to the side, gangbang, rap, pimp. All of the things, coincidentally, all the drug dealing, all the things that you're going to be defending in your practice. These things are heavily influenced by blacks. Now watch this, because somebody asked me this before. They said, well, didn't black people kind of get this gangster mentality from Italians? Exactly. But once black people got it, it's not to say we don't have influences, but it's that when we got it, we made it popular worldwide. You can go see literal Crips, white Crips with blue braids over in Holland. How the hell did that happen? That stuff is crazy to me. The things that we do is amplified, even though we're influenced by other people. But the influence is against the law, statutes, and commandments of God. So if we were keeping them, imagine how the rest of the world would be. Give me Proverbs 29:2. Show you something. This is the ultimate idea, right? It's about justice, and it's about reciprocity, which is also going into justice, right?
Yeah.
And then it's about no, not necessarily equality, but it's an overall influence of harmony, right? Well, reciprocity is a tit for tat, because you have to be, you reap what you sow. You plant those seeds, you're going to reap the results of it. And that's what happened with us. We planted evil seeds, so we're reaping and receiving evil. And the same thing is going to happen for Caucasians as well. Evil. Right? Go ahead.
Book of Proverbs, chapter 29, verse 2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice.
When righteous people are in authority, people rejoice. Go ahead.
But when the wicked beareth rule,
But when wicked people are in rulership, what happens?
the people mourn.
This is what these protests are about. Because this is just wickedness being perpetuated. As you go into your practice with defending people, like you said, I'm not a snitch, but you also know how people are taken advantage of, right? Have you ever seen that Denzel movie, Roman J. Israel Esquire? It's a good movie, right? And it's pretty much about how most of the time minorities, or those who are just poor, don't get a fair shake at the criminal justice system, because they're always thrown a deal at them, and then they're threatened to say, well, if you take it to trial, we're going to give you the max.
Right.
I don't have the resources, the funds, or the support.
When you accept a plea deal, it says, have you been made any offers or deals? Like, yeah, this one. What are you talking about?
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's a corrupt system instituted by a corrupt people, and that's why the world is mourning. So we're saying that when you look at what blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians have went through by their oppressors of whites, you still see how we try to love. We should be those people that have that position of superiority and authority, because we're going to influence the world to be better and to be great, so that the world can rejoice and not to mourn.
So what do you have to do to be that, to get to that position then?
We have to recognize what was taken from us, that we are God's chosen people, and then assume the responsibility and fulfill the responsibility that we should have done from jump, so that we can take that high to that hill, and then everybody's going to look to us for righteousness.
And how do you see, what does it look like God's chosen people living with God's not chosen people? How does that work?
In harmony.
In harmony?
In harmony, yeah.
But how are God's not chosen people supposed to feel about that?
They ain't gonna have no choice.
I understand that, but like, I don't know.
Here's the thing.
I feel like, just like we're telling Mexicans here that you're not citizens, when you tell a white person you're not God's chosen people, they're gonna be probably upset. I mean, and they don't have any choice, but then...
Take it up with God. It ain't got nothing to do with me. Don't shoot the messenger.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
I feel like that's not gonna, informing them about that is gonna make your kingdom worse.
No, not necessarily, because it's going to be the same thing like with Egypt, right? Pharaoh didn't want to receive it at first, and then God showcased his power in his people that made Pharaoh say, okay, cool, all right, I don't want to do it. Same thing with Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar didn't want to receive it until God had to go and showcase his power on his people, and then Nebuchadnezzar said, listen, first of all, God is with these people. It's been so long time since God has showcased his actual power, or the fullness of his power in his people, that our generation, when you only live 30, 40, 50, less than 100 years, it's easy to forget. It's literally one of the instructions that God told his people. Make sure that you pass this down generationally so that they don't forget what I did for them in Egypt. Because if they forget, then they'll turn around and start to do things as if God doesn't have the power that he actually has. So we don't have to get it. I'm saying, like, he can understand it. If it was everything where he was like, nah, or I need to see that, then we'd show it. But these are things that we can go and prove in the Bible. So when you're saying that, well, the non-chosen people are going to feel some way, they can. But they're going to respect the authority and the power that God is going to show through his people, one. But number two, when things are set up and it's harmonious,
Yeah.
it's honest, it's genuine, they're not going to have a problem with it. This is actually what's going to happen. Get Isaiah 2. You should have been there. This is what we've been going to consistently, because this is the ultimate goal, right? A lot of times, let's just say in our former immature years, you know, we will be out here just talking about how bad things are and how bad things are going to get for the people that do bad. No, let's talk about the end goal and then reverse engineer how we're going to get there. Go ahead.
Book of Isaiah chapter 2 verse 2. And it shall come to pass in the last days,
In these last days, go ahead.
that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountain.
The house of God is going to be set up upon the top of the mountain. Mountains scripturally represent kingdoms, governments, nations. The house of God is going to be above all those governments and kingdoms. He's going to be the ultimate governor. Read.
And shall be exalted above the hills,
The hills is also dealing with, again, governments, people, right? Read.
and all nations shall flow onto it.
All the nations are actually going to flow unto the house of God. So I understand what you mean, but when people find a good system, it's just a good system. I mean, you know, it is what it is, especially compared to what they've seen, what they've been out here protesting against. Go ahead.
And many people shall go and say, Come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God Jacob,
Many people are going to say, let's go to the house of Jacob and do what?
and he will teach us of his ways,
And learn their ways. Go ahead.
and we will walk in his paths.
And we're going to walk in the paths of God. Read.
For out of Zion
For out of Zion, which is dealing with Jerusalem, the capital of the children of Israel. Read.
shall go forth the law and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem.
Which is literally like the law coming from the capital of the United States, right? Zion is going to be that capital. From there is going to be the distribution and the enforcement of God's laws, and it's going to cause many people and many nations to voluntarily come and to serve. Now, let's talk about the ones who don't want to.
That's like a one government world or something.
Absolutely, definitely anti-democratic. Anti-democratic, right?
Yeah, because if you have truly virtuous and good people in power, then there's no need to vote.
There's no need.
We already know what's going to happen.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and it's going to be consistency.
good, yeah.
It's going to be good, right? Isaiah 60. Let's jump 58 chapters. Isaiah 60 and start at what? 10? Matter of fact, excuse me. No. Go back to Isaiah 2. That's going on, man. Hey, man, you guys are a part of God's chosen people. All right?
Get it for everybody.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Book of Isaiah chapter 2 verse 3. And he shall judge among the nations,
Okay, God is going to judge among these nations. Read.
and shall rebuke many people,
Many people are going to be rebuked. Go ahead.
and they shall beat their swords in the plowshares,
So they're going to take their swords and beat them into plowshares. Go ahead.
and their spears in the pruning
Their
hooks.
spears are going to be turned into pruning hooks. They're not going to be instruments of war,
They're not going to be fighting each other. They're going to be turning it into like
into labor and cultivation of, resources for everybody to just operate as fairly and honestly as they should, and it should have been from the get-go. So this was so crazy too. Before we continue, us as Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians, even though we're claiming to be God chosen people, and we're trying to be superior, we're also bearing the responsibility as to how messed up the world is too. It's not just a thing of saying, oh, I'm better than you. No, I'm bearing accountability to say it should have been better if we would have did what we were supposed to do from the jump. So when we dropped the ball, it then made way for other people to assume that position at the height of the hill to then do things the way that they wanted, even though God gave us his laws and we were supposed to exemplify and represent them there, right? Keep reading.
And their spears in the pruning hook. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation.
Nation's not going to war against nation. Go ahead.
Neither shall they learn war anymore.
Not going to learn war no more. It's a perpetual state of peace, right? Now jump to verse 60. Because he said also he's going to rebuke many nations as well, right?
Isaiah chapter 60.
Why is he going to rebuke them?
Verse 9.
Mhm.
Surely the isles shall wait for me,
Uh-huh.
and the ships of Tarshish first, to bring thy sons from far,
Uh-huh.
their silver and their gold with them,
Uh-huh.
unto the name of the Lord thy God, and to the Holy One of Israel, because he hath glorified thee.
So at the time where God's house will be established at the top of the mountain in the hills, all the other nations will relinquish their power to God, his people, and to create this, new peaceful righteous, honorable system, right? Go ahead.
And the sons of strangers
The sons of the non-chosen, the strangers, read,
shall build up thy walls.
is going to be the ones that build up the walls of the city that they actually tore down when they sacked Jerusalem and forced the children of Israel, his chosen people, out of the land, right? Go ahead.
And their king shall minister unto thee.
The minister means to serve. They're going to serve under the Israelites. Go ahead.
For in my wrath I smote thee.
In God's wrath, he smote his people. Read.
But in my favor.
But in his favor, what's going to happen?
Have I had mercy on thee.
He's going to have mercy. That's the redemption story, right? The Israelites working back to the place that they were in the good graces and the favorable eyes or a favorable mindset of God versus the punishment that they've been under. Keep reading.
Therefore thy gates shall be open continually. They shall not be shut day nor night, that men may bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles.
The Gentiles are also the outsiders or the strangers. Read.
And that their kings may be brought. For the nation and kingdom that will not serve thee,
those who are going to object, those that will not serve, go ahead,
shall perish.
They're going to perish. Read.
Yea, those nations shall be utterly wasted.
And I mean, this is literally the path that
Maybe
everybody
that's what's happening right now.
Definitely. Definitely. But it's going to continue all the way up, even to the point where God establishes his kingdom. Everything that's going on in the world is definitely a repercussion, for sure.
So let's say God's chosen people take over, right? And they're in charge now. Now, that's just what it is then from then on?
Yeah, that's going to be a perpetual thing. And this
Because
is
if
the
it's
eternal
God's-
kingdom.
If it's God's chosen people are in their chosen place, really, by God, then is there a prophecy that someone's going to come try to take it from them? Or is it just
That's
just it? Once you get there, you're there, and then you're just in the kingdom, and then you die one day, and then you're in a second kingdom?
The only way that someone would even have opportunity to take it away is if God's chosen people disregarded his law again.
Oh, so
That's the only thing that weakens the children of Israel, his chosen, is breaking the laws. In the book of Judith, there was a nation, I believe it was the Greeks, that were trying to set out a plan to come against the children of Israel. There was a man from a different nation. He was a non-chosen, and he was working with the Greeks, and he was telling the Greek, it wasn't even the Greek king, it was like the general, right, of the army. He was telling them, he was saying, listen, the only way you have an advantage is if they're being wicked, is if they're going against the laws of God. But if they're not going against the laws of God, there is no way that you are going to prevail against them. So that's the whole concept and the idea. When we recognize the greatness of Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian people, do you think if Black, Hispanic, Native Indian, if they all came together, don't you think they'd have enough to take down whites? But for some reason, we just cannot do it. Hell, we can't even come together amongst ourselves, let alone the three different demographics coming together. That is the implementation of Caucasians. They came and said we have to create division, because if we create division, then they'll never be able to band together to take us over. That has always been a fear. This is the same fear that Egypt had, right? When you read in the scriptures, it speaks about how, hey, watch that, because so it don't knock over. This is the reason why in Egypt it says, I don't want them to continue to grow and to get bigger, because then they might join up with another nation to come and take us over. So they issued out a decree to kill all the firstborn men or firstborn males, right? So with that, no, nobody's going to be able to come and take that away, because
give it away, basically.
We would have to give it away, but guess what? We would give it away by disobeying God's laws, but guess what? The prophecy and the promise is that God is going to write the laws on our hearts so that we wouldn't break them. That's why it's going to be a perpetual thing. See what I'm saying? That's it? Okay, I got one more. Let's go back to Deuteronomy 28. Let's finish 54 and 55. Because we talked about black on black crime, Hispanic on Hispanic, Native Indian on Native Indian, having a distinct effect on us, even though we can see it elsewhere with other people. Go ahead.
Deuteronomy 28 and 54, it says, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate,
read,
his eyes shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom.
So not only is his eye going to be evil towards his brother, but even his wife. We see the disruption in Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian households with the man and the woman. Most of those households are of single women. Keep reading.
It says, and toward the remnant of his children.
His eye was going to be evil towards his wife and his children. How is a man's eye evil towards his children? Read.
Which he shall leave.
Because he leaves them.
How?
Well, child support is between the man and the woman. But the evil eye towards a man towards his children is because he's going to leave them. That's why these households are being raised as with single mothers. Because the men lay down with these women, have children, and then they skedaddle. For whatever reason, they leave. They're not present. So it leaves them to be raised by the mother, and then they're just raised, you know, dysfunctional.
You say that was 54 what?
Deuteronomy 28, verse 54, right? So we see that happening. We know that white people grow up with single moms. You told us that you were adopted, right? But still somehow you managed to grow up and become a lawyer or pursuing to be a lawyer, which you know was going to be prosperous. Now, does that happen to every single black person? No. The point is that it's drastically different for black, Hispanic, and Native Indians than it is for, you know what I'm saying? Were you adopted by a white family?
I was, yeah.
See what I'm saying? I mean, it's just drastically different, right? And then it repeats the same thing for the woman, right? You got something else? It just repeats the same thing for the woman. When you start to go through the curses from Deuteronomy 28, from verse 15 all the way down to 68, you start to see when it says that the curse is going to be upon these people forever and their children as a distinct signal or a sign. You start to see who it happens to. And then when you look at it, you say, damn, if they all came together. And you got to say also, what the root of God's laws are self-love for the purpose of giving love to one another. Most of the time in the black, Hispanic, and Native Indian community, they don't have any love for themselves, and then they treat each other like trash.
Like trash.
If they got rid of that stuff, you'll start to see the benefit, especially on the economic level, which when you mention about does wealth equate superiority? No, but it's definitely a component. So with our influence, with our skills and prowess, if we combine that with an economic strength, come on, man. We wouldn't have to go through things like 360 deals. We wouldn't be trying to rob one another and to be getting put into prison to then not have the support or the stability to have proper counsel to then take deals, massively be incarcerated. Which guess what? The curse says that too. They would fill the prison houses. All of these things is literally indicative to us, not to mention the country that we live in. It's called that great city of Babylon. It represents the old ancient city of Egypt, Babylon, and Rome. The three major empires and the three major nations that God's chosen people, according to the Bible, were under. It just fits like a glove. But if these people don't never know who they are, they never know the responsibility they have to follow, they'll never fulfill it. The prophecies will never, of their promise, and their reward will never come to pass. It has been one of the most beautiful things, I'm just giving credit, that white people have done for their benefit is to take, remember, we could not speak our own language. Then we could not learn English as well, or we could not learn Spanish. They took our knowledge away, they took our faith away and gave us this white guy. They took everything away from us that literally makes us somebody and believe in ourselves to be something special. Until they let us off plantations after 250, almost 300 years, and then they said, we're gonna allow you to then incorporate yourself into our society, which in reality we should have left at that time. Right? But it was literally good versus bad. During the Reconstruction era, they let us off plantations. You know what they did? They said, okay, the South, you persecute them. So then the North can come in as the heroes and say, well, we're gonna allow you guys to be now a part of our government so that you guys can pursue what? Equal protection under the law. Yeah. I mean, it's the perfect scheme.
Give them two choices and make one choice really shitty, and they'll have to choose the other one.
Yeah. And then they get to be the hero, even though they've already played the villain. They get to create the problem and then become the hero. It's a book called American Pimp. It's about this old school pimp. I think he was from Detroit, and he was going around pimping women. And it was just, Detroit Red. And he went to his mentor. And it was this one girl he couldn't get, and he said, hey, this one girl, I can't break her, what do I do? And his mentor said, oh, that's easy. What you do is you take a coat hanger and beat her with it into the inch of her life. Then you stop, you run her a bath, and you nurse her back to health. By the time she get healthy, she'll forget that you're the one that put her in that place in the first place. This is literally the experience of the life of Black, Hispanic, Native Indians in America. they didn't gave us so many crumbs and so many quote-unquote opportunities, even though at 150 years we've never made really good on it as a collective, and they haven't even made good on the promises that they made us when they let us off the plantation. But we still here rocking the American flag as a coat on a protest, and when we ask our people, we say, so do you support America? They say yes. So that means you support ICE. No. How do you separate the two? But in our minds, we can compartmentalize this stuff and still make America great. When it has never been great for us, it never will be great for us. It was never intended to be great for us. Yes, that's exactly. See what I'm saying? Yeah. This is where we're at, because this is what we need to get up out of this place. Not some sort of democratic system where we can work our way through it, get to the top, and then change it. It's not going to happen. Otherwise, we would have seen it long before Barack Obama, or we would have even seen it with Barack Obama. Barack Obama is Kenyan. He is not West African. He is not a part of any of the nations of Africans that came from the Western Shores. And when he got in office, he bridged the gap and forged a relationship between America and Kenya, and did nothing for the people that voted for him and put him in office. That's our position, because Black, Hispanic, Native Indians fits the curses and the prophecies of the Bible.
I've hated all presidents I've been alive for.
See what I'm saying? And even the ones that you weren't alive for.
Oh yeah,
right?
It's like George Washington, really. But...
George Washington was a piece of trash as well. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. But all right, Gabe, man, you have a good one.
Hey, you guys got some like Instagram?
Instagram?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Oh yeah. Nice to meet you guys.
All right, man. Have a good one.
Yeah,
and with that, man, we give all honor, glory, and praise to the Most High God Yahweh. We do so in the name of His only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly called Jesus Christ, who name Yahweh Shai. And we say, Kwame Yashua.
Kwame Yashua.
Come look us up, man. We might need some counsel one day.
Pretty good.
For all his sons and his daughters won't fill the cities with faces. Iniquities of they father, bloodthirstiest of our nation. Not for living water, waiting to put that work in. Hamashiach give us that order, prepare slaughter. For all his sons and his daughters won't fill the cities with faces. Iniquities of they father, bloodthirstiest of our nation. Not for living water, waiting to put this work in. Hamashiach give us that order.